Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. First of all, I'd like to greet my gurus on the dais. Pranamyante maya vidwadgan eva guru kana. And my dear brothers and sisters, thank you to the organizers for inviting me to be here. And my first apologies for not being able to speak to you in Tamil. I have come to Sanskrit from a very different direction from the gurus on the dais. I was born in the UK. I was born to parents of different nationalities. So I was born with 3 different languages from childhood. I studied engineering. I went into banking. But I felt a lackness in life. In fact, it felt like I had everything in my hands, but I felt empty. And seeking to fill this hole started my real journey of life, which took me to a meditation group in the UK in a forest. And I had a life-changing experience, and from that moment, I was following what they were teaching. At that moment, I didn't know whether they were Buddhist or Sanatan Dharma. I had no idea, but I knew what they were teaching works. And what they were teaching was to do with mantra, omkara. And then they started teaching Patanjali Yoga Darshana. For those of you who don't know, that is a text called the Yoga Sutras, but really it's very, very deep psychology and then deep philosophy. I found it, having studied psychology, I found it the most practical and real knowledge that I had ever read. Despite all of the modern education that I had received. This brought me to India. And once coming to India, my real journey in Sanskrit started. I started by doing Bhagavad Gita part. I would listen to the shlokas and I would look at the Devanagari and read the Roman transliteration underneath. And I realized that even without knowing the meaning of these Sanskrit words, something was happening to me. Without any knowledge of what the word means, it was having an effect on my mind and my being, taking me into deeper meditation and giving me the sense of stability and peace and happiness just from the vibrations of the sounds and looking at the structure of the words. This inspired me to go to Kashi to study Sanskrit. Initially, I was studying long distance from Rashtriya Sanskrit Sansthan. And then I took formal education in Kashi. Every human being is searching for peace and happiness. I'm sure that there's not one single person in this room who is seeking some third option. You seek study to get employment, to get money, to buy you facilities that you believe will make you happy. But this is external and temporary. I found through Sanskrit and the energy involved in the Dharma of Sanskrit that this is complete and enough and permanent also, because the external means are temporary. And Sanskrit connects us to something that is permanent. I'm sure that even the young people here have heard that Sanskrit is referred to as Dev Bhasha. Dev Bhasha is referring not only to the divine vibrations, but is also telling us that this language, this energy, is coming from inside out, not outside in. And that is the foundation of the ancient Sanskriti and education system in India. And I just want to, in Sanskrit, we also look at the very specific vibrations of the words, the eternal connection with the meaning of the word, the specific amplitude, the specific frequency, the wavelength of each vibration. And if you change it slightly, it completely changes the impact of that vibration and the meaning. So when we talk about Sanskriti and culture, even here we're seeing some very important information. If we look at the word culture, it comes from cult. Cult meaning a subset, a minority of society, a minority of traditions, perhaps language and behaviors. Culture is talking about a minority, a subset. But when we look at Sanskriti, Sanskriti comes from the Sanskara society, the collective. It is the majority. So Sanskriti, when we talk about language, this is something that I really understood deeply about Sanskrit. When we talk about language, every word has a specific meaning, and when we translate it into another language, we lose the meaning. We lose the impact of the vibration, and we lose the impact of the meaning. So even something as simple as Sanskriti and culture, the meaning is lost the moment we translate it into English. And so I am also an advocate of mother languages, mother tongue languages, and I also believe that for our lives, for peace and happiness in our lives, Sanskrit is something that adds to our journey in life towards peace and happiness, to be free from suffering. Even in the West, as Guruji was mentioning, there's this Harvard Tamil study. I don't know if you're aware that Harvard has also produced a study on the Sanskrit effect. The Sanskrit effect is telling us, scientifically, they have found that people who have studied and memorized the Vedas are having a greater proportion of gray matter in the brain compared to people who have not. There is something that we cannot, with modern techniques, put our finger on. But there's something in Sanskrit that changes the neural pathways in our brains. There's something that increases the gray matter in the brain, and something that also improves the flexibility of the brain stem. Through multiple studies in Europe and in the USA, we're now seeing research coming out of this. I want to give you a few words in Sanskrit that completely have changed my understanding of the Sanskriti, understanding of the purpose of life, and understanding of how to attain peace, happiness in life. One very important word that I'm sure you are all familiar with is Bharat. Bharat in Sanskrit has a vyupatti of Bhayam Rati Iti Bharatam, means Prakashena Yuktaha, joined by light. Bharat comes from Ba Prakashane, meaning light. And light means knowledge. When we talk about Bharat or Bharatiya Sanskriti, we're not talking about a geographic location. We're talking about something for the entire universe and multitude of universes. We're talking about something that is practical for everybody's daily life. It tells us that the foundation of the Sanskriti is knowledge, knowledge leading to liberation. When we talk about Dharma, Artha, Mokshanam, Purusha, Tatitushtayan, we see Dharma and we see Moksha. Moksha simply means freedom from delusion. In Hindi you say Moha se Mukti. Freedom from delusion, meaning having a stable intellect. And the foundation being Dharma. Dharma, one meaning of the word Dharma is Yato Abhyudaya Nishraya Siddhi Sadharma. That which uplifts you. These are the reasons why I'm so passionate about Sanskrit. But just knowing the meaning of these words completely transforms our understanding of what this culture, this Sanskriti is and what this way of life in this part of the world is. Simply, Dharma is talking about things that uplift you and take you to freedom from delusion. And in many Indic languages, we are familiar with the word Purusha. Guruji is one of the greatest scholars of this century in Sanskrit, sitting on the stage. So I'm a little shy to say some of these things. But I want to remind you that there's this word Purusha. Everyone is Purusha. But what does Purusha means? Our ancient knowledge, our ancient wisdom is telling us that the meaning of Purusha is Purushete iti Purusha. Means this body in which we rest is our natural state. Studying Sanskrit enables us to understand the depths of how we're supposed to live life. And knowing just a simple word like Purusha enables us to understand that really in our daily life, we're not living as is intended. So studying Sanskrit enables us to uncover these deep meanings that are relevant to our daily life. You're all familiar as well that how many discoveries exist in Sanskrit, mathematical, scientific, as far as flying machines and mathematics in particular. It also tells us in not a physical and mathematical way, but also tells us about what our being is. One of the most powerful mantras I found in Sanskrit is Ashta Chakranau Dwara Devanam Purayatya, telling us that our existence consists of 8 chakras, 8 wheels, 9 gates, the 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, mouth, and lower gates. That we're the dwelling place of the devatas, the givers. And the name of our body is Ayodhya. Ayodhya simply means the place of no battles. This language of Sanskrit that has given all of this philosophy tells us the basic principles of what we are and how we can live. It means our natural state is to be at rest. Our natural state is to be where there are no battles, where we have stable intellect. And if we look at the science of mantras, Manana Traititi mantra, that thing that protects us from the cogitations of the mind. If we look at Omkara, I invite the students in particular for Omkara. Place your hand on your throat. You'll see that is striking at the throat, U at the lips, and up. U, If you practice this, you see that this is naturally taking you from lower to higher. So powerful is the vibrations of Sanskrit that we can see linguistically, we can see scientifically, we can see psychologically, and we can see in our practical daily life, that the power of the vibrations of Sanskrit are a tool that can bring us to peace and happiness, not just temporarily, but permanently, where we can live in a state where there's no battles, where we can live at rest within our being. And this is what has brought me to Sanskrit, to study Sanskrit passionately in Kashi for the last 20 years. I'm studying at the university. Thank you very much for inviting me to be here. I want to finish with one last thing. Vasudeva Kutumbakam. This is one of the most powerful phrases. It means not only is the world of family, but it also means that Ka means that we are a tiny part, not just of this universe, but of countless universes. So Vasudeva Kutumbakam reminds us that we are a very, very small part of a very, very enormous, infinite, divine energy filled with Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma, truth, knowledge, and eternity. Hari Om Tat Sat. Pranam.
பேசு தமிழா பேசுவினுடைய மக்கள் ஃபவுண்டேஷன் மூலமாக நம்ம ஒரு மிகப்பெரிய ஒரு பசு சரணாலயம் அமைப்பதற்கான முயற்சியில் ஈடுபட்டிருக்கோம். இந்த பசுக்கள் சரணாலயத்திற்கு என்னுடைய கான்ட்ரிபியூஷனாக நான் ஏதாவது கொடுக்கணுங்கிற எண்ண ஓட்டத்தின் அடிப்படையில் கிட்டத்தட்ட 10 ஆண்டுகளுக்கு மேலே நான் கலெக்ட் பண்ண கலை பொருட்கள் அனைத்தையும் விற்று அதன் மூலமாக திரட்டப்படக்கூடிய தொகை என்னவோ அதை இந்த மக்கள் ஃபவுண்டேஷனுக்கு, இந்த பசு சரணாலயம் திட்டத்திற்கு என்னுடைய கான்ட்ரிபியூஷனாக கொடுக்க போகிறேன். இந்த பொருட்கள் அனைத்துமே நம்முடைய பேசு தமிழா பேசு அலுவலகத்தில் விற்பனைக்கு இருக்குது. கீழே இருக்கக்கூடிய இந்த கான்டாக்ட் நம்பருக்கு நீங்கள் கால் பண்ணி இது பற்றின மேலதிக விவரங்களை நீங்கள் தெரிஞ்சுக்கலாம். அது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் மக்கள் ஃபவுண்டேஷனுடைய அக்கௌண்ட் நம்பரை இந்த வீடியோடைய டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷனில் கொடுத்துருக்கோம். நீங்கள் நேரடியாக அந்த அக்கௌண்ட் நம்பர் மூலமாகவும் உங்களுடைய கான்ட்ரிபியூஷன்ஸை கொடுக்கலாம். பேசு தமிழா பேசு ஒரு சேனல் கிடையாது, அது ஒரு இயக்கம்னு நான் உறுதியாக நம்புகிறேன். உங்களுடைய குரலை தான் நாங்கள் ஒவ்வொரு வீடியோலையும் பேசுகிறோம், உங்களுடைய மனசாட்சியை தான் நாங்கள் பிரதிபலிக்கிறோங்கிற ஒரு எண்ணம் எங்களுக்கு இருக்குது. அதே எண்ணம் உங்களுக்கு இருந்ததுன்னா தொடர்ந்து பேசு தமிழா பேசுவனுடைய முயற்சிகளுக்கு நீங்கள் கொடுக்கக்கூடிய ஆதரவை இந்த பசுக்கள் சரணாலயம் திட்டத்திற்கும் கொடுக்கணும்னு சொல்லி ரொம்ப தாழ்மையோடு கேட்டுக்கிறேன். உங்களுடைய அன்பாலையும் ஆதரவாலையும் தான் பேசு தமிழா பேசி இயங்கிட்டு இருக்கு. அதற்கு என்றென்றைக்கும் நன்றி.
இப்போ உடல் ரீதியாக ஒரு பிரச்சனை வருது அப்படின்னா அந்த பிரச்சனைக்கு இந்த ஒரு வாஸ்து பாதிப்பு காரணமா இருக்கும் அப்படின்னு சொல்ல முடியுமா?
உங்க வீட்டோட தென்கிழக்கு தெற்கு சார்ந்த 22 டிகிரில என்ன இருக்குங்கிறத நீங்க செக் பண்ணுங்க. நான் சொல்ற மாதிரி பாதிப்பு அந்த இடத்துல இருந்தது அப்படின்னா நிச்சயமா அந்த இடத்துல.
இந்த மாதிரி ஆன்மீகம் மற்றும் ஜோதிடம் சார்ந்த இன்னும் பல வீடியோக்கள் பார்க்கணுமா? மறக்காம திருவருள் டிவிக்கு சப்ஸ்கிரைப் பண்ணுங்க. திருவருள் டிவியுடைய சேனல் லிங்க் இந்த வீடியோடைய டிஸ்கிரிப்ஷன்ல இருக்கு.